think yesterday someone asked from batch 11. Okay, whatever we are discussing, both service desk, hardware, up to networking, this document contains. Other content is not here. Okay. Plus, there is one more document. There is one or two documents are there. One more important document is your entire questions one. Yeah, of course, not technical. It's like what I am saying is this document. I already shared this document to you guys. In case you are missing because of lot of messages, I can share it again. This is contains some common questions, around 50 common questions on hardware and networking, and troubleshooting questions also there. But answers are mainly provided for troubleshooting related questions. So compulsory see hardware related and networking related troubleshooting questions from this document. And there is another few PPTs also available, and as well as the previously in certain batches, some batches got these questions. So go through that questions and you can understand different questions also. Please go through that one. Those who are completed and everything. Okay, where is your batch? This is your batch. Yeah, right. Okay. Not only our current running document, even our current running document you are missing. Also, I will going to share that to you. Okay. Reading from the document is quite easy, guys. Why it is not completely showing? Okay. Reading from the document is quite easy. Okay. Your document. And I have a PDF. For example, you take this is batch 12. Okay, sorry. For batch 9 and 10. I have done complete almost all everything we have discussed in a batch 9 and 10. So like that for batch 11, it is not this year, last year batch 11, one batch is there. There also I completely have done a discussion. So not only our current topic, there is additional information is also in it. But right now what we are discussing, we'll keep it that matter. Okay. So if time goes on, then I will also share that document. But right now, please read what are the things. Okay. Mainly check the questions I shared. So then go to the troubleshooting related questions answers document. There is a doc is there, right? DOCX5. Go through that one. Then come back to our regular training document. Okay. So like that. So try at least spend some time on it. Okay. If you do not have percent or voice accent, so definitely have to spend more time. Okay. To on the technical part. If you are having a pending voice and accent or a version test, so then you can spend. You have to share the time. Okay. For some technical effort as well as voice and percent and voice and accent. Okay. Yeah. So last class, guys, what we have discussed, we discussed about IP addresses, MAC address, differences, how to check IP address, how to check MAC address, okay, and also IP address and MAC address differences about IP addresses. Then we discussed about IPv4 addresses, right? What is the IPv4 address and IPv6 address and their differences also we discussed. IPv4. What is the IPv4 address? IPv4 complete range, 5 classes, okay? Subnet mask. What IP address we can assign, what IP address we can't assign, also we discuss. In IPv4, private IP addresses also we discuss. So there is few more points about IP address related. So that is, we are going to check it. Before that one, I want to start again with the private IP address. Okay. To connect in a network and communicate in the network, every device must have an IP address. But you have your own private network and you need an IP address. So then you can use any of these private IP addresses. No need to pay, no need to register to use any kind of private IP address because you are using inside your private network. But with this private IP, you can't communicate directly in the internet. In internet, private IP addresses are non-routable in public IP address. In publicly, your private IP address non-routable means, for example, my system, my laptop having a private IP address, but I'm accessing google.com, but google.com don't know my private IP. Google.com knows my public IP. So with the use of public only, I should communicate. Okay. So to communicate in the public, in the internet, you need a public IP. To communicate in the private, just you need a private. But public IP addresses are registered type, means you have to register for a public IP use and you have to pay to use the public IP address. Okay. Of course, how to register and all, there is a big process. That's a difference. But private IP address, anybody can use any of these private IP. Other than the given private IP address ranges and APIPA range, so remaining all IP address from class A, class B, class C are public IP. Of course, 0.0.0 means that zero network series is 127 networks, APIPA address, and these private IP address ranges. You can't use it for a public purpose. Only other than these things, remaining all IP addresses are public IP address only. Okay. So from class A, only one network is given because class A, one single network, we can connect 16 million devices in single network. One single network, 10 dot network it is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255. This is entire one network. This one single network is a private network. In case in your private network, you have more than 65,534 devices are there, then you can use this class A network 10 series. Next, class B. Class B. In the class B, 170.16.0.0 to 170.31.255.255. This entire IP addresses, this entire IP addresses are belongs to private only. This entire IP addresses having a 16 networks, 170.16, 170.17 network, 170.18 network, 170.19 network, like that. So up to 170.31 networks. So totally 16 networks are there from class B. Okay. Totally 16 networks are given for a private use purpose. Class C, 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. This entire range of IP address are private IP addresses from class C. So it contains 256 networks. 256 networks. 192.168.0 network, 192.168.1 network, 192.168.2 network, 192.168.3 network, 192.168.4 network, up to 192.168.255 network. So totally 256, 0 to 255, 256 networks from class C. Okay. So these are the private IP addresses. If you check my IP address, check my IP address. So how to check IP address? Simple command is IP config. Okay. I want to know only IP address, IP config. This is my Wi-Fi adapter and I got an IP address now. Guys, which IP it is? Private IP or public IP? Anyone? Which IP? Private IP, public IP? You want big? No one is answering. Someone answered. Public? No. Check it. 170.16. 170.16. 170.16 is a private IP. So I am having a private IP address. This is also private IP. 170.18 private IP. 192.168.100 private IP. Yeah, Kalim, tell me. Tell me, I can.
Sir,
What's the
you are
doubt?
communicating with Google Chrome, no, sir. Then it comes under public IP.
This is my IP. Google Chrome is application. Okay. So I'm communicating with this IP address. This is my gateway. Okay. Chrome is an application. I'm using Google Chrome to access website. Here also I can try being www.google.com. Google.com not in my network. It is in a public outside somewhere it is located. So I try to check the connectivity is there or not. See that this is also different IP outside of my network. It's public IP. Okay. The point is simple. Point is not the point is here it is. I am using private IP. I'm using simple. This is the private IP I'm having. But I'm communicating to public system. Okay, this is I am using private. I'm in private network. But I am communicating to outside of my network, right? So to communicate outside of network, I need a router. So this is my router address. My default gateway is my router. Through router, I'm communicating. But thing is, you are using private IP. So with the private IP, you can't connect. Even you are using a router, but still you can't able to communicate to the public. Private is inside your network. You can communicate and route anything you can do within your private network only. But you can't communicate outside. Outside means public. Actually, say one point is can't communicate it to the public internet directly with your private IP. But I'm asking how it is possible. Your private IP cannot be understand by internet. Your private IP not coming outside. So what happened here? So there is a technique called a NAT or PAT technique. in this router. So when you are trying to communicate outside of your network, so what you need is a public IP. When you are communicating to the public, so what is we need is a public IP address is required. But internally, a private IP is enough. Inside your network, a private IP is enough. But when you are communicating out of internet through internet or public, you need a public IP. And what people will do is so they will configure two kind of techniques we are using. The first and technique I'm telling is NAT technique, network address translation. Network address translation. Simply it is what it will do, it maps inside IP to outside. Exactly. Changing the statement. Original statement is like this: inside local IP to inside global IP kind of stuff. Or you can say maps your internal private IP to private IP to public IP address. For example, inside your systems are having an IP like this: 192.168. For example, you are having an IP address here, it is 192.168 or 1.11. So this system 192.168.1.12. This system is 192.168.2. Sorry, 1.13. Like this, these are the private IP address configured on these systems. So, for example, this is my web server. Okay, so this is some other kind of application server, a mail server it is. Publicly, people want to access this website, but this is the private IP, so publicly you can't access any private kind of stuff. What to do? One is you can assign a public IP address to these machines directly. Assign public IP address. So, so you have to take it from your ISP. So ask them any public IP address assignment available. So ask them assign the public IP address to these servers, and people can access your servers with a public IP address directly. Or you can keep the private IP addresses for internal communication. For external communication, what we are using is NAT kind of techniques. NAT means network address translation. Meaning is it maps private to public IP. So what is this mapping is like that? Okay, 192.168.1.11 system, 192.168.1.12 system, 192.168.1.13 system. Like that, I have a multiple systems are there. One like another system like 1.14, okay, 1.15, 1.16, like that it is. Now in my router, what I will do? Internally, it is a 1.11 only, but this 1.11 system, when it is communicating outside of my network, it is communicating to the public network. So it use some public kind of IP address. Okay. So for example, I put a 200 dot 10 dot 1.11. Okay. So when it is inside a network in your private, it is 190.168.11 only. They're using that one inside private network. But when it is communicating outside, then it is Then it is 200 dot 10 dot 13. Okay. So, for example, from someone in the internet want to access this my web server, which IP they will use to access this server? This IP address. So they use this 200 dot 10 dot 1 dot 12 to send a request to internet. Internet searches and reaches up to here with this IP address 200 dot 10 dot 1 dot 12 only. Once it came to router, the router it is already mapped this, right? In the router it is mapped to 1.12. So the router will send that information to the web server. Web server take that the client request, understand the request and take the request and give a response to the client with IP 192.168.1.12 only. But when it is coming outside, it is 200.10.1.12. Okay, then it is go to internet, finally it reaches here. Okay, so when there are inside a private, they use private IP address. When there are connecting public, so then you can use public IP address. Of course, you have to buy these public IP addresses. For example, your organization having a 10 servers are there, 10 public connecting servers are required. Then what to do? 10 public IP address you have to buy it. Internally it is private only, intranet is your private. But when you are communicating to the public, from public or to the public, so you have to do NAT translations, NAT kind of mapping you have to do. Network address translation. Okay. So what is NAT? Network address translation. Maps inside means private IP address to outside public IP address. The device can communicate in the private with private IP. When they communicated to public outside, they use public IP address. It's one-to-one time, one private to one public translation, one-to-one time. If you have a 10 private IP address need to be connect to the internet, then we need a 10 public IP address. But in your home or maybe a small offices, so we are having a lot of systems inside, right? In our home means you have a laptop, your desktop, your mobile phone, TV, right? You have a devices. Or maybe in offices, small offices, they're also having a multiple devices. So they are connected in the private. They can communicate in the private. But they can't offer more number of public IP address to buy it to access through internet. So what we want it, we want a Google.com access, Facebook access, YouTube access is required. But we are not getting it directly. One second. Yeah. So what happened? I have more number of devices, more number of private IP addresses. Internally, I can communicate. When I communicating outside means to internet, I need a public IP. Yeah. But problem is more number of public IPs are difficult to buy, not by everyone. And if you are using public IP, what is the use of using private IP again? Okay, so there is a conflict. So this is we are using a technique called PAT, port address translation. This is also called as NAT overload. This is also called as NAT overload. Okay. It maps multiple or all your private or internal IP addresses to single public IP. So how it is? So for example, just like earlier we have taken an example, right? 192.168.1.11. For maybe 5. Okay, all these are private IP address inside. But when they are communicating outside of the network, they use a public IP address. Some public IP. Okay, so all these systems are with the same public IP address only. All these systems are used same public IP. But how it is divided? For example, someone is trying to reach with your public IP, which private IP has to be respond. Or you are, for example, from 1.11, you send a request, like your opening of google.com, and it is opened in a 1.12. It is wrong, right? So like a, because we are not mapping one to one here, it is all to one. So that's it is called overloading. NAT overloading. When NAT, it is one to one. Now here it is one to all to one. Okay, so that's it. How it is separated, how the things will be understood using simple port map technique. Okay, so which system there is a request is sent and receiving, so it map using a certain kind of port mapping. Random port maps are there to see. So not like it's just for example, I'm adding these ports also not permanent guys. It's random ports. So for every time a device is communicating, so in internal it is a private IP, but when it is communicating outside, so it is use public IP. But okay, it use public IP in NAT. But here it is, it's mapped with two or one or more systems can communicate into the public with the same public kind of IP address. Okay, same kind of same public IP we are using to come. But how it is separated, then it is port map technique. These port numbers, so whenever a system is send a request, for example, you take 802.12. 8.2 not, sorry, this is 1.12. This is 1.12 system, right? 1.2 system. It's inside, they will communicate. But when they're communicating outside, they reach the router. Router checks it is in the NAT list 181, which is 192.168.1.12, and create some port number on it. So based on the current working, so it assigns some port number. Okay, so assign some port number. Okay, so sorry. What it will do? It translate into this public IP. Okay, but what it will do? It use this port mapping in a route. Okay, and it will send to request with us, that's public IP to outside. So from outside, you are getting a reply to up to this router. So what happened? It would check it, which is the incoming, what is its port number, and which private IP is asking their port number. Then we send a reply to the guys. It is not two-way because you are having a web server. You want to get connected from public user. You can't get it because you are okay. So you are internally using private IP, externally you are translating. So with a PAT technique, it's very diff. Even someone knows your IP address or subnet mask or MAC address, they can't reach your system through different net. Okay, because they know your public IP, they don't know your private. Even they know the public IP of yours, when they want to reach, then there is the point. It is. So this request is belongs to a specific system. Okay. This is called a NAT and PAT, network address translation. Okay, network address translation. So we are still someone, two people are raised hand. Very good. Tell me, Aditya, Kalim.
Sir, how router calculates the port address?
It generate randomly and as well as depends upon what type of communication the source system is doing. Okay, like if it is web related, so HTTP, port number 80, like that also it is added. But when it is going to the public, so random port numbers are set. Okay, it will save that port numbers mapping. Port mappings automatically save inside. It's not permanent numbers. So, okay. So devices communicating into the public using NAT or PAT technique. Most famous one is PAT technique because multiple devices can communicate outside of its network using public network. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, in our home, offices, mostly are using PAT, port address translations. There is some form. There is 65,500 35 total port numbers, some are reserved port numbers. So that is not given to the reserved port. Some companies also their customized port number things, but still there's lot of things are available. So I'm just sorry, little disturbance. So this is about NAT and PAT. So next we're going to see about some part of IP address assigning and a people kind of stuff. Okay, take a 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, and we'll start again.